The sky was gray, with thick clouds hanging low like heavy curtains, threatening rain over the quiet streets of Eastwood, a neighborhood forgotten by time and ignored by fortune. Among the crumbling bricks and rusted fences lived a girl named Amara. She was just 12, but her eyes told stories far older than her years. Her skin was dark as the rich soil her grandmother used to tend back in Georgia, her hair was tied in tight braids her mama never had time to finish, and her shoes, well, they had more holes than hope. Amara knew hunger like most kids knew cartoons. She'd learned to count not with books, but with the sound of her belly growling, one note at a time. Her mama worked 2 jobs and still barely brought home enough to keep the lights on. Her baby brother, Malik, just 3, had a cough that never left. And Amara, the oldest, had become the mother, the cook, the dreamer, and the provider, in a world that rarely gave and often took. But that morning, something was different. Amara had heard from old Mavis, the street vendor with the patchwork coat, that a strange man had moved into the abandoned mansion on Oak Ridge Hill, the place where wild vines had long claimed the marble lions and shattered windows stared like blind eyes. Mavis said he was a millionaire, but broken, paralyzed, wheelchair-bound, alone. They say he don't talk much, Mavis had whispered with trembling lips, as if the man might hear her from a mile away. Some say he ain't right in the head, but rich, baby, he got riches falling out of them walls. Riches. That word echoed in Amara's mind as she passed the cracked church steps, past the shelter that had run out of soup 2 days ago, and toward Oak Ridge Hill. She wasn't going to beg. She wasn't going to cry. She had something to offer. As the wind picked up and tugged at her threadbare coat, she clutched her small paper bag. Inside was her mama's sweet cornbread, the last bit from last night's dinner. She'd saved it, even when her stomach moaned and Malik begged for more. She saved it because she had a plan. They needed a miracle, and miracles didn't come unless you chased them. The gates of the mansion groaned as she pushed them open. The grass whispered secrets under her feet. Windows stared down like silent judges. But she kept walking. When she reached the porch, she hesitated. Her fingers shook as she rang the bell. No sound, no footsteps, silence. She rang again, and then, a sound. Slow, mechanical, like gears grinding against time. The door opened just a crack. And then he appeared, Mr. Julian Crane, the paralyzed millionaire. He was nothing like the stories. He wasn't old, maybe 35, his hair was jet black, brushed neatly back. He wore a dark turtleneck and sharp slacks, but his legs, they didn't move. His wheelchair gleamed like obsidian, every part polished to perfection. His eyes were cold, icy blue, the kind of eyes that had seen war, not on battlefields, but in boardrooms and hospital rooms. Yes, his voice was low, sharp. Amara swallowed, then held up the paper bag. I don't want money, she said quickly. I don't want charity. He raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. I want a trade, she continued, her voice shaking slightly. This is sweet cornbread, my mama's recipe. It's all we have left. I'm offering it to you. He stared. In return, she whispered, I need a miracle. There was a pause. Then, he laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It was bitter, sarcastic, like rust grinding on steel. A miracle, he echoed, his voice thick with disbelief. You bring me bread, and ask for a miracle. Amara nodded, her chin lifted, even as tears burned behind her eyes. He leaned forward slightly in his chair. And what kind of miracle are you hoping to buy, little girl? She hesitated, then whispered, a chance. He frowned. A chance, he repeated. For my brother, she said, looking down. He's sick. We got no money. The clinic won't see him without payment up front. My mama works 2 jobs and still comes home crying. I can't fix this, but you, maybe you can. The wind howled. A door creaked somewhere deep in the mansion. Julian stared at her, and then, he opened the door wider. Come in, he said coldly. Amara blinked. Why? She asked cautiously. Because, he said, wheeling backward, I want to see what makes a girl give her last piece of bread to a man she doesn't know, for something he can't promise. She stepped inside. The mansion was cold, grand, broken in places, but alive. Paintings lined the hall, sad faces, stormy skies, weeping angels. A chandelier hung above, missing half its crystals. The air smelled like old books and new grief. He led her into a sunroom. Windows stretched from floor to ceiling. The light was pale, fragile. She handed him the bag. He took it with trembling fingers. Opened it, smelled it, then broke a piece off and placed it in his mouth. Silence. Then, Softly, "This tastes like childhood." Amara blinked. "I haven't tasted cornbread like this since my mother died," he whispered. "Back when I could walk, run, dance." She didn't know what to say. Julian looked at her. "Do you believe in miracles, Amara?" She frowned. "How do you know my name?" He smirked. "I know every child who lives in Eastwood. I fund the soup kitchens. I pay for the broken streetlights. I keep to myself, but I see everything." Amara stared. "I used to believe in miracles," he said, more to himself. "Before the crash, before the betrayal, before my legs stopped working and my heart went numb." She looked at his legs. Then back at him. "You still have more than most," she said softly. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I can't help everyone," he said. "But maybe," she said bravely, "you can help one." Silence. He wheeled away, and she thought he was sending her out. But then he returned, with a small envelope. "This," he said, handing it to her, "is not a miracle. But it's a start." She opened it. Inside were 2 cards. One was a prepaid hospital voucher. The other had a name and number. "My personal doctor," he said. "Top pediatric specialist. He owes me a favor." Her hands shook. "But why?" she whispered. "Why help me?" He looked at the empty bag. "At first," he said slowly, "I laughed. Because it seemed foolish, naive. But then I remembered, I used to believe, too. And maybe, your bread reminded me of something I'd buried." She couldn't hold back the tears anymore. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet," he said. "Come back in 1 week. Tell me how your brother is. Then we'll talk about real miracles." She nodded. As she turned to leave, he said one last thing. "Amara, yes, you may have brought leftovers, but what you gave me today was more valuable than money." She smiled through her tears. And walked out, holding hope in her hand.